Good afternoon and welcome to the Mitchell Sentinel podcast. It is June 14th, 2020. Today is Dad's birthday. He's turning 77. It's also the birthday of the United States Army and Flag Day.
And President Trump.
Oh, yeah. And Terrell Corbin.
Yeah, Aunt Linda.
There's a lot of people born on this day.
Myrna Bohan was born yesterday about 82 years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. But today we're going to talk about baseball.
Baseball. Batter up.
People didn't know that Mitchell had a baseball team. We haven't for a number of years, but Dad's going to talk about probably the most triumphant team we ever had.
Yeah, probably true. But first I want to set the foundation. Many years ago, every little town in Eastern Oregon had what they call a town team baseball team. And they took it pretty serious. And there was always a pretty good rivalry. And so they would travel to Mount Vernon, Dayville, John Day even. Of course, back in those days, some of the larger towns weren't that big. But that was the foundation. And these guys, I remember going to Prairie City once to one of these baseball games. And usually it turned out to be it used to be entertaining, let's put it that way, because sometimes there were rhubarbs that came up and there were rivalries.
What's a rhubarb other than a pie?
Rhubarb is that was a strike. No, it wasn't either. I said it was a strike. No, it ain't.
Okay.
Okay, that's
a baseball term?
Well, yeah, it is now.
I mean, was it then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were making this up from the past or the present. Which way you're going with it?
Well, yeah, it worked anyhow. But, I remember when I got to be about 12 years old, we played a lot of baseball on the school ground and everything. But I remember one special thing, they had a game called crossout. And if you didn't make it to the base before the ball crossed in front of you, you were out.
So was somebody throw it in front of you?
Yeah, one of the other players, it would hit them to them, and if you crossed you out before you got to the base, and you were out. And they didn't have to touch base or touch you or anything like that.
So they just have to throw the ball in front of you. Would they ever just hit you?
That's what caused everything to happen. So they figured out that took most of the doubt on it. If they hit you hard enough, they'd knock you down, and so you were really out. It might be a double out.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyhow, we started playing American Legion ball, sponsored by our local Legion post here. And, of course, I was of the age where I was younger than most of the players and everything. I remember Dick Bevers was 4 years older than me, and he was a big, long, tall, lanky guy, and he could throw that baseball like about 90 miles an hour. And I was pretty small, and after he hit me in the head with one, I decided I was going to be afraid of that ball for the rest of my baseball career. And pretty much was. So when I got to that certain point where that ball was coming in, I'd take that back foot and I'd kind of chicken foot out of there. I was ready to roll anyway.
When you were at bat?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I threw right-handed, but I batted left-handed, so it was kind of a weird thing. But excuse me.
Well, that's probably why he hit you in the head. Was that before they had helmets?
Oh, yeah. We didn't have no helmets or nothing. I do remember they came out with a little skull cap you could put underneath your baseball hat, but little good that do if you hit anywhere other than on top of the head. So 1960 rolled around, and we had most of us played all three sports.
So that was your junior year? You were 17 years old?
Yeah, I was 16 years old. Anyhow, most of the kids played all three sports. I didn't play football because I was a wimp.
I thought you had a heart defect.
Well, that kind of made me a wimp. But anyhow, I didn't play that, but I played a little basketball, and we did okay that year. We won 9 and lost 9. I guess that's 500 in anybody's book. But baseball season rolled in, and everybody looked at us, and there wasn't much excitement. But we went up against Fossil first time out, and we beat them. And Fossil, a pretty good team. They had Bill Potter, who could throw probably faster than Dick Bebbers could. And he was a big old beefy guy, and he hit that ball about 200 miles. And we went up against Prineville JVs, and they were kind of a rivalry for ours because Mr. Moverhill, Jim Moverhill, he coached the JVs, and the year before, Pete Williams, he played for Prineville JVs. So
did he go to school here and go back and forth to Prineville, or
no? He went to
Prineville?
his freshman year. He went to Prineville and boarded out over there, and he played that deal. Then
did he do that just for the baseball?
No, they didn't have a school in Twickenham then, and they had to farm themselves out.
Oh, so they didn't choose to go to Mitchell. They wanted to go to Prineville.
Yeah, yeah. Well, wherever you could, and then Twickenham decided, I think, when Pete was a sophomore, to come to Mitchell. So him and Irene Meisner came to Mitchell.
So it was a community idea, where they would send their kids to school?
Yeah. Right.
It seems like a strange idea to send them all the way from Twickenham to Prineville.
Well, they boarded him out over there, and I think he might have stayed with Moverhills anyhow. But Pete was a pretty good hitter. He didn't have no arm. But anyhow, we were, as we got to winning more and more, people said, hey, these guys might be okay. We might do something. So we had Carroll Messenger. He was a senior that year. He was our catcher. Fred Hornan, I think he was a sophomore that year, and he was our third baseman. Bob Hale, he was a senior that year, and he was our shortstop. He was really quick and short to the ground, and he's pretty good with the stick, so he could hit pretty well. And we had Johnny McCulloch, who played for us that year, and then his parents moved back to Fossil, and he was a good ball player. He could hit and field anyway. He was second baseman. And Johnny was on our team that year, and then the next year he moved to Fossil, and I think Fossil went to state the next year in '61, and I think they might have won it. I'm not that sure. But anyhow, and Terry Snee, a local boy, he was our first baseman. He was a big, tall guy. Great with the glove, a little weak with the stick, but he did okay. And Bob Seaton, he was our left fielder. He was pretty good with a stick and a pretty good fielder. And then I played center field. And Pete Williams, he played right field. Now, Pete was a great hitter, but Pete had a weenie arm. He couldn't throw the ball very well. So
he couldn't.
Yeah, so that's where you hide the guys that don't have very good arm or not very good fielding skills. Yeah, right. Yeah, because they didn't get much action out there.
Yeah.
But probably the biggest key to our, we had some other players too that I should mention. Paul Lawler, he was a pitcher, and then he could field about any place, so he played off and on. John Meisner, he played in the outfield when we needed a substitute or something like that, but he was just a freshman that year. And Mark Anderson, he helped us out quite a bit, but he didn't get to play much that year because he had a broken thumb from an injury, I think, in basketball. But he did, I think, get in on the last game. But like I was saying, the biggest player, and probably the reason we got more success than anything, was a guy by the name of Pete Migan, who was Gene and Bud Taylor's son, Bud's stepson. And he had played organized ball in Southern California. And he knew what he was doing, and he'd been schooled and coached a little bit better than we had. And he could throw a curve, he could throw just about anything. And the ironic thing about him was that he could throw just as well with his right hand as he could with his left hand, which was his dominant hand. And so he was our picture of record. And I remember we were playing up in Dayville, out by the log deck on the road towards Franks Creek.
Where's that?
Right before you get to Dayville on the left-hand side across the
bridge
river.
Crosses there?
Yeah, they had the log deck there, and they had kind of
a mill?
Yeah. Well, it didn't have a mill. They just decked the logs there. And so they cleaned off some of the logs and put the baseball field up there and that, and it was mostly dirt. But anyhow, we were beating them pretty soundly. Because if you could hit one into the log deck before they could find the ball, you usually had a home run.
Was that part of it? You had to find the ball.
Yeah. So anyhow, they had this real neurotic coach. I can't even remember his name, but he took everything just terribly. And basketball the same way. He's one of them guys who get a lot of technical fouls, almost as many as our coach did that year. Anyhow, we were ahead of them like 13-2 or something, and so the coach, just for the fun of it, he walks out to the mound. And of course, their coach jumps up. What are you doing? What are you doing? You guys changing pitchers or something? Or what? You got to do your scorecard. You're going to. We ain't changing pitchers. We're giving him another glove. He's going to throw right-handed. He can't do that. He can't do. I said, you watch him. He will watch it. Yeah. And so he, I think Pete threw probably a 2-hitter left-hander and about a 3-hitter right-handed that day. First time I'd ever seen that happen. It was just amazing, and it couldn't happen to a better coach. But that's another thing I should mention, that our coach was Dennis O'Halloran. Dennis wasn't very big, but he was a hot-headed Irishman, and so he got us, and I don't know if I think he was a catcher probably whenever he did play him, and I'm thinking that he probably got in more rhubarbs than any other player.
Gotcha.
He got into a few here, So we're winning this game and these games, and boy, our last game of the year was Mount Vernon, and they had all these big horses, and they'd beat us quite a bit. And so we played them that day, and I think we beat them like 13-2 or something back in there. It was terrible, and they were really humbled and humiliated, but they didn't let that bother them because they still didn't like us. But it was a great feeling when we walked off to that field that day. But it also meant that we were going to go to the district playoffs.
Where were they held?
We were going to play Umatilla, and they were always a powerhouse in the district. And for some reason, our field was a little lacking, I say. It was mostly sand and goat heads. You didn't want to do much sliding into the bases on that field. So for the sake of probably taking in more money for the Oregon State Athletic Association and everything, we moved our home field to Davison Field in Prineville.
Okay.
So we played Umatilla over in Prineville at Davison Field. Well, we went over there the night before so we could get rest and didn't have to do all that stuff, which
You
was...
have to travel, but just stay up all night, excited anyways.
Well, these people, the OSAA, were paying for the room and
nice.
the meals and everything, so...
You're a big deal.
Yeah, and we got to stay in the old Ocho Inn.
Nice.
Which was really a big deal for us. And by then we had quite a few groupies following us and everything, and a lot of course, the parents and everything was there. And
groupies as in young ladies, like rock stars?
No, like in people that just...
fans.
Yeah, okay.
Fans is probably a better term than groupies.
Yeah, I should say that because it's going to give the groupies a bad name when they learn about our fans.
Well, I just was wondering, you over there in a motel room, they're paying for all your stuff.
Yeah.
And you mentioned groupies, that seemed a little too illicit to me.
Well, yeah, well, we don't want to go.
But you're fans.
They're fans. Okay, I'm glad we cleared that up.
Supporters.
Yeah. Okay, so we get over there the night before and we go out to eat. Coach said, you got to get back in the room early. No movies, none of this stuff. And get back in this. Okay, that's fine. Well, Fran Cherry and Ted Barnhouse and Bob Collins and a few more of our fans, they happened to be there, and they have a bar in the Ocho Inn at the time, and I think they called it the Center Bar probably. So our coach didn't set any time limit for himself, and so he was getting in about the time we were getting up.
So he's out drinking with those fellas.
Oh yeah, he had a pretty good party on and everything. So we get out to the field, and he's not feeling real good. Probably.
But he's Irish; he'll be fine.
Yeah, he gets over it in a hurry. So we're playing this baseball game and everything, and we had I'd probably say in our inventory we probably had about maybe 12 bats at the most, and at that time we used wooden bats because aluminum hadn't come into play yet.
Well, do they use aluminum in high school still?
I don't know.
I don't know if they do or not.
I don't know either. Anyhow, by about the third inning, we were running out of bats.
You kept breaking them?
Yeah. This guy must have been throwing some kind of pitch that, when you hit or something and everything. So the parents, they took up a collection right there in the stands, and they went down to Ernie Ender's sports shop and bought us a bunch of new bats.
Where was his sports shop?
It was down on the Madras Highway, about where the Y is now.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's about where let's see, I was trying to think. It's, I can't remember. I think it was before you got to the school, maybe. Anyhow, Ernie.
Where that little, there's that
it was,
oil shop. Like Oil Can Henry's used to be there. There's a car wash.
Yeah,
in that area.
Been about in that location, I think. Yeah. Anyhow, he had everything in there that pertained to sports, and so they went down to Ernie's, and we got new bats, and it must have worked out pretty good because we beat Umatilla.
How bad did you beat them?
I don't remember what the score was, but I think it was pretty close. It might have been like 3-2 or something like that.
It was a game.
Yeah, it was a game. Yeah, it was a game, and we won. We were elated and tickled, so that meant we got to go to the state quarterfinals. First time I think it's ever probably happened in Mitchell's history. So we were playing Adrian, and heck, none of us knew where Adrian was.
Did you have to go out to Adrian to play?
No, we got the luck of the draw. Everything we got was a home game until we got to the state semifinal.
So you played again at Davis Field?
Yep, we went back to Davison Field, but this time, after we heard the coach put a curfew on us again, we slipped in afterwards, and so he couldn't slip out. We stole his clothes.
Oh, so he wouldn't sneak out.
Exactly. So we knew that, being modest and all that, he probably wasn't going to go down there in his BVDs or his pajamas. So we kept the coach in that night. And so we got up the next morning and went out to the field, and lo and behold, we beat Adrian.
Oh, be dang.
Yeah, so hey, man, we're on a roll. So the next time we know we got to go to Klamath Falls.
That's the semifinals.
Yeah, this is the semifinals. And I was trying to think the pitcher's name. I didn't think I'd ever forget it, but I sure did. Something with Salvador, I think, or something like that. But he was a good pitcher. He could throw the fastball pretty fast. Yeah, we get down to Merrill. Then we get, no curfew now. All holes are barred. So a lot of us barred the coach's car. He had a station wagon, and we go out. And we went to the movies that night. We went to the movies and got back at a reasonable time, and got up the next day, and we go down to Merrill's Field, which is out a little ways out of Klamath Falls. So we're playing Merrill. They're a good team. We're a good team. And I think the first thing that happens is we were, Terry Snee was at bat. And he had, I think the count was 2-1 or something. Anyhow, the pitcher threw the ball, and Snee got hit by the ball, which means you walk to first. Well, no, not this time. He didn't try to get out of the way aggressively enough, so it was they called it a ball. And the next time up, he fouled out and for the third out and went out. But in the meantime, the big rhubarb developed over this call where we thought we got homered a little bit. So, and it's getting pretty close now, and I think we're about 2-2. Well, one of their batters, I can't remember which one it was. I was in the Army with their left fielder, and I found out his name and everything, and
he played that game.
He played in that game, yeah. And I didn't like him then, and I don't like him now, and I
never will, huh?
No.
I guess you got to know him.
His last name was Sherman. Yeah,
okay. It's well, did you meet him in basic, or did you meet him when you went to Alaska?
No, I met him in basic.
Oh.
Had I made him in Alaska, I'd have probably had my gun by then, and then he would have been in trouble. Oh. But anyhow, they hit the ball. unfortunately, to right field. And I know who's over there, and I know it's Pete, and I know that they got 2 guys on base, I think first and second. And I know if I don't get there and get this ball, ain't no way it's going to happen.
It's not going to get caught.
And so I called all the prayers and everything, and I said, Lord, let me get to that ball and let me make this throw. Well, I got there all right, but I grabbed a hold of the ball, and I knew that I had to really throw it in there because I had to go home because they were trying to score.
Yeah.
So I threw with all my might. Unfortunately, I threw 35 feet further than what home plate was.
You overachieved it.
Yeah. The adrenaline was just that much, and 2 runs scored, and it went to 5-3. But the one good thing out of that throw, I scattered the fans in the grandstand. Man, I don't know if I hit anybody or not, but they sure got the heck out of the way when that ball came flying in. But I felt bad afterwards because Pete and I were really close together when I made the throw. And the coach thought Pete did it, and he took him out of the game, and I didn't say a daggone word. I didn't defend Pete at all.
Oh. Well, how could he not see you throw it?
Because we were that close. Huh. And the throw, he should have known Pete couldn't have thrown that far anyway. But yeah. But that was what it was. Anyhow, we lost that game 5-3, and Merrill went on in the next game to win the state championship. I can't remember who they played.
So they were the team to beat.
They won the state championship. So we didn't feel quite so bad, but it was a long ride back from Klamath Falls, I tell you.
You guys riding a station wagon or a school bus?
Most of them were on school bus, but my dad was down there, and John McCulloch and I rode back with our dads. So,
okay.
Yeah, we abandoned the ship, so to speak. Yeah. So that was the story of our 15 minutes of glory.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It's probably what some of us did, that we'd probably never do again or get a chance to.
The highlight of, your
that's my 15 minutes of fame right there, I guess.
Well, I think you've stretched it a little bit more than that, but the highlight of your athletic career anyway.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But the kind of the postscript to the story is we got down there, and, of course, Klamath Falls got this big newspaper and everything, and they've got all the write-ups. I've since lost the book. I had all the book and the whole thing, but I don't know if I lost it or somebody needed it worse than I did. But anyhow, I lost it. And
so it was the book of the tournament or the book of the game?
All the stats.
Give all the information.
Yeah. So I had I think when we got to Merrill, I had a batting average of about .333, which for high school probably isn't that good, but it's pretty fair. I was a leadoff hitter, and I don't know why they made me a leadoff hitter.
What's a leadoff hitter? I don't know much about baseball.
That's a guy that bats first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you opened the show.
Yeah. So so you get to be the first one out there, and I guess the reason I got it wasn't because I was really good with the stick. It's mostly because I was good with my eyes, and if it was anywhere close to my body, I wasn't going to be there. So I walked a lot.
You could be the first guy on base.
Yeah, but after some of these newspapers, they had me down as Stan Cannon.
Okay.
And at the time, Stan Musial played for the St. Louis Cardinals, and he was really a great player and everything, and a Hall of Famer and everything. So Merrill really razzed me when I came up to the plate and everything, and
Stan the man.
Here comes Stan the man, and all that stuff. And here, hey man, Stan, come on, show us what you got, Stan. And
was that all the crowd?
Oh yeah, and all the players
fans,
and everything,
okay.
and it wasn't getting to me because they didn't know that ain't my name.
You didn't know who the hell they were talking about.
Yeah, so they didn't get me too bad.
Well, did you walk?
Yeah, I got a couple walks that game, and I think I almost got a hit, and I hit it out to this Sherman guy, and he made a pretty good catch on it. And, yeah.
So you popped a fly out to him?
Yeah.
That's why you didn't like him.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons. Yeah. Well, that was my baseball career. I didn't play any after that.
Well, when did Mitchell stop having baseball?
I think, let's see. I went from there. I went on to referee a few of the high school games. That's back in the day. You couldn't hardly get anybody's sanction to do.
To umpire?
Yeah, it's just a volunteer thing. So once in a while, you got hometown. You got hometown quite a bit sometimes.
Yeah, seems like you can get homered pretty easy that way.
About 2 years down the line, I was refereeing a game against Mount Vernon, and they had recognized me from beating them in 60, and I don't know if we beat them in 60.
They're like, "Hey, it's Stan."
Yeah, hey, there's Stan. Oh, they thought, and they knew who I was. Anyhow, they start on me, man. This ball wasn't this, and that wasn't that. And I admit I could be a little biased, but the more they got on me, the more biased I became.
Well, yeah. What else are you gonna do?
And finally, I just walked over to him, and I was trying to think who was on that team. Paul Abels was one, I think, and maybe James Woods.
Okay.
No, James had already.
He was the same age you, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he'd already graduated. But Paul Abels was one of them, and a bunch of the other guys. And like I say, they didn't like me anyway. And Coach Potter, he didn't like me either. They were his coach. I walked over there and I said, "You know what? You guys keep it up. Mitchell's going to win this game regardless." Because I said, "I'm going to put this game under protest, and I do have the power to do that. So if you guys want to razz me, just keep it up, and you're going to lose this game." Well, that helped them a little bit, but not enough.
Oh.
I got by, but they beat Mitchell anyway. I think so.
So even with the stacked deck, they couldn't win.
No, that's just no. I tried to make it fair, but just sometimes you
Well, when you get
if you're 2 inches short, you're just gonna if the foot hit first.
Yeah.
I don't know who I had. Umpire Ray Bland might have been umpire in the outfield or the baseline. He was an umpire, but that was pretty much the end of my baseball. I gave that up too pretty good. That might have been about 1960, 67, 68 probably.
Well, it was after you got out of the Army.
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you were a trained killer at that point. They weren't going to mess
Oh
with
yeah,
you.
yeah, right. I was always afraid when I learned all that stuff. Somebody jerked my arm off and beat me to death with that lethal arm.
Well, where was the baseball diamond in Mitchell?
Well, it was up to where the athletic field is now. It's got to be an athletic field now. Anyhow, it was.
Why?
Huh? Well, I don't know. It used to be a baseball diamond. Now it's
athletic
because
field?
they play football there.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, they did the same thing, but it was when
because I thought they had a specific diamond as opposed to like a multi-use space. It wasn't. Was it football and baseball at the
well, they had to have a backstop.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, and so the first way we laid the field out was right across the street from Vane Hennis's house.
Now, where's that?
That's where Glenn Raber's sons live now.
Okay. There was a field there?
Yeah. Well, the field wasn't there, but it was up on that bench where the field is now. But that's where the backstop was on that end, and the field laid out towards the new school.
Okay.
Which wasn't there at the time, but
no.
Yeah. So you get up there, and in fact, Mr. Hennis, I remember, had to put frames of with chicken wire around it.
Okay.
Over his windows.
So
because if you got a foul ball and it went over the backstop, it was heading for his windows. So
I'll be dang.
Yeah. So they chicken wired his windows so he wouldn't have all the breakage.
Okay.
But later on, they moved it up just on the other end to get away from that, up where right close to where the dorm sets now.
Yeah.
And it configured that way.
I think I remember that. Their backstop was still there before they built the new school.
Yeah.
It was there in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. So
in 80s.
So if you get a foul ball there, but if you wanted to knock Hennis's windows out, you had to get a home run.
Yeah.
After they moved it there.
Well, that's interesting. I'm trying to think that the football field up there and the baseball diamond and with the tennis courts, were they there then too?
No.
Okay, they weren't there.
No. But that's see they bought a field I think it belonged to Cotton Gin at one time, but I think Bynum's bought it. There was a field that lays over there about where the new school is, and the shop building. It was just a field where they raised crops on.
Oh, really?
Or weeds later on
Yeah.
and everything, but they
I think I
wanted
remember
to
that.
expand this field and do some work on it and get away from the goat heads and the sand.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they picked that in the first place, because it's natural sandy out there. So
Wasn't there a young person killed in a baseball accident?
no, we were playing pickup football there one night. Alfred Nace.
Okay.
Yeah, Alfred. I was there the night he died, and
My gosh.
we thought we were just playing. We were playing tackle football, but just
Just
pickup.
like kids do.
Yeah. And so we were playing out there, and the high school team were practicing. So
Just before you got into high school?
yeah, this was before, and so Alfred was playing. He was a big old kid too. So he said, "I'm not feeling too good." So he went over and sat down. And we thought, "Uh-oh, here comes a sneaky play.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to jump up and they're going to throw him a pass, and that's going to be it, and everything." We looked over and Alfred's turning blue.
Oh.
Yeah, really blue. So we go over and get the coach, and I think it might have been, I think it might have been O'Halloran then. So I must have been in the 8th grade. Anyhow, Nace is really turning blue, and he ain't breathing. So he goes to working on him. Give him.
Just right around CPR time?
Yeah,
When
it
was kind of before that, when they'd punch him in the chest?
Yeah, he worked on him, but Alfred had already gone.
Gosh, well, what was it that killed him?
He had an enlarged heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and they had a funeral here for him and everything. They asked me to be a pallbearer, and boy, back in them days, I couldn't deal with it. So
Well, you were in 8th grade. That's a pretty rough thing.
yeah, but there were some of the other. I think Mark Anderson did, and a few of them. But he's buried down to Lower Cemetery.
Oddfellows?
Yeah. Alfred, it was quite a loss.
Yeah.
Because he was destined to probably do pretty good things athletic, because he had the body for it. Yeah.
Well, that whole ground up there, I was just thinking about how there was just one building for the longest time before the shop building, right? Up at the football field.
There wasn't any building.
Well, yeah, probably then, yeah. But I was thinking when I was a kid, there was a concession stand building there.
That might have been the only building there.
Yeah.
I don't know, just a little
A block,
shack.
a block shack.
Yeah.
So I remember Grandpa Cole went up with the cat, and he helped kind of, when they were getting ready to start the shop building, I think he went up and did some excavation or something. But it's interesting that Mitchell kind of stopped playing baseball, probably in the early 70s then? Is that?
I think probably your mom graduated in 68. I think that was about the cutoff time.
I wonder why they quit.
Not enough people.
Oh, okay. Standard.
See, it takes 9
Mm-hmm.
plus. I think that's probably the biggest reason. And I remember when we first started in football, we played 6-man.
Yeah, and then they went to 8-man.
8-man. Now they're back at 6-man.
6-man, which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, my freshman year they didn't have football. Or we tried, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, the 6-man was. Bob Hale was a pretty good guy to play 6-man football, because you just handed the ball off to him and he was fast enough to get on the outside and he was gone.
Well, 6-man or 8-man's fast. 6-man be faster.
Yeah. It was just, if you got a fast guy, he's going to go. Yeah. So that's, the whole thing was pretty good.
Well, I guess that kind of sums up the glory days of high school athleticism.
Well, I have one more. I played a little basketball, but I liked basketball, but I really wasn't very big. I was only about 5'7" maybe, and I probably weighed $135. But we were playing Daville, and Daville had these big kids. They had all the Frankie kids, and they were big. And I think Don Frankie and Paul Schroeder, which was a cousin of theirs, he was big. Well, we were playing. This must have been 60. It must have been about 62 again. But anyhow, we were in a tournament here. I think it was a playoff tournament. Anyhow, I was always kind of feisty, and I had to hustle to do it because I didn't have the ability. So I don't know why I was underneath the basket, but anyhow, one of them big guys hit me and knocked me down. I'm on my hands and knees there trying to get out of there without getting clobbered. And about that time, Dayville, Paul Schroeder, he trips over me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he twists his ankle.
Oh, well,
puts him out for the rest of the game and the next game. And the coach told me, he said, Cannon, you might become a basketball player yet. That's the best thing you've done on the court.
Pretty good trick right there.
Yeah. So made it look good, I guess.
Yeah. Did they ever go to district or anything in basketball around your time there? No, I don't think we ever did. I remember with Coach O'Halloran, we started. I don't know if I mentioned this or not in one of the previous podcasts where the bus broke down between here and Dayville. No, I don't recall.
Yeah, well, the bus breaks down between here and Dayville, and we got to go to Prairie City to a tournament. And so we're at what they call the Mountain Creek Cafe then. And
so that's halfway between here and Dayville, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Right. And the bus breaks down. And so Bob Clover, who's the milkman, he come around in the milk truck about that time and said, "Can I help you?" Yeah. The coach said, "Yeah, we need to send a basketball team to Prairie City where you live." And he lived in Prairie City. So now how's this for a safety factor? They took the starting 5, that's all he could haul, and put them in the milk truck on milk cartons.
Wow.
And they were sitting on milk cartons, and they got there for starting time and everything, but they sent for another bus, and they couldn't get another bus, so Coach got his car up there, and I think me and one of the Galligan kids rode with him. I was the manager at the time, and I knew, my dad being in the tire business, and I knew I was probably destined to retire. I knew that the coach was running just racing slicks on his car.
You're like, we're going to have a flat.
Oh, yeah, we're going to kill ourselves. And he's driving like a madman, we're going to get there and sliding the turns and everything. Anyhow.
It wasn't gravel, was it?
Huh?
Was it gravel?
No, it was blacktop. But anyhow, we get there, and by the time we get there, our starting 5 fouls out. And we set up the other 5 with another car ahead of us. So the time we got there, our starting 5 had fouled out. And the coach, he went over on the bench, and the first thing he did, he got 2 technical fouls, and he got thrown out. so he, in fact, they asked him to leave the gymnasium.
Entirely.
Yeah, entirely. So I thought, well, we're not probably going to get the good sportsmanship award this year because we foul out 5 guys and the coach gets thrown out. So
well, how many guys did you have left?
We had 4, I think. We finished up with 4, but Prairie City was so far ahead of us it didn't make no difference.
No.
By then. So yeah, they got to shoot a lot of free throws.
Well, good practice for them.
Yeah. So that was the end of that deal.
Yeah, well, when we were in high school, you didn't ever get kicked out of a game, did you?
No.
You got a couple technicals.
Well, I got a few technicals, but sometimes, you
got to get things fired up.
And when you're sitting on the bench and things aren't going right, sometimes all it takes is a technical foul to get your team playing a little better and say, "Hey, man, they're picking on the coach. Let's don't let this happen."
Rally behind.
Yeah, so you got to know when to do it.
Yeah.
I remember many years ago when Mindy Rudolph was a famous NBA basketball referee, and I think it was Red Auerbach. He was a legendary coach of the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
And so they're playing.
That's a long time ago.
And they're playing in this game and everything, and man, Boston's playing a bad game. They can't make this thing work. So Auerbach starts working on Mindy Rudolph. He's he's questioning every call and just calling him all sorts of things and everything. And finally,
Mindy Rudolph was a
referee.
A guy.
Yeah, a guy. Yeah.
Okay, his name's Mindy.
Yeah, I think that's what. Yeah. Anyhow, he goes over to Auerbach, and he said, I'm not going to kick you out of this game. Your team's playing crappy, and you're going to sit here and watch it because I have to watch it. So, yeah, Auerbach backed off a little bit then, and that's sometimes when it happens, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I remember getting one at, where was I? I was in Long Creek. Mr. Lloyd, Greg Lloyd was coaching. And we were sitting there, and Long Creek's coming down the floor, and they do an over and back right in front of us, and we're right on that side where the coaches, and we said over and back, and the referee he
didn't see it, so he's not going to call it.
He didn't. He just didn't call it. He
wasn't
saw
Pat Brock, was it?
No.
Okay.
This was one of the other referees out there. We didn't use them, so sometimes we didn't get very good calls.
Gotcha.
Anyhow, so Lloyd jumps up and everything, and he said, "Show us some respect. This happened right in front of us." And he said, and everything. He said, so he teed Lloyd up.
Yeah.
He looks over at me. He said, "You want a tee?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" So we got a double technical, but we at least didn't get kicked out because
no.
Yeah. So
I think that must have happened when I was out of school. That must have been Mark's junior year.
It probably was. Yeah. Anyhow, we went on to beat them pretty soundly anyhow, but things kind of changed after the technical fouls. So sometimes it works. Sometimes
I've seen pros do that too.
But another time I got a technical foul, I was in Monument playing, and I think
you were playing?
No.
Oh, you're
no. I was coaching.
Okay.
I was helping coach with Rudy Richard. He was helping there one year, and so
Rudy for the boys.
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been after I was out.
Yeah. So he's helping them out, and everything. And Rudy,
Greg Lloyd was the head coach, probably.
I don't think it was.
He was the only one after.
Well, maybe I don't know, but anyhow, we're going back and forth, and we're playing them, and so Rudy was sitting there, and he was talking to the team, and the referee heard it, and he thought he was talking to him.
Oh.
So he calls a technical foul on Rudy.
For talking to the team?
Well,
what was he saying?
Well, he said, you can do better than that or something like that to that extent. No, and there's nothing nasty. I mean, he was a Marine, so.
And a Portland police officer.
Yeah, he could have done it, but he didn't. He wasn't that nature anyhow. But the referee called him a technical foul on him, and I was on the bench too. So I before they shot the technical foul shot, I called timeout, and I walked across the basketball court to where Mr. Carroll was sitting, and I said, "Mr. Carroll, I want you to know that technical foul was on Richard, not me." He said, "Yeah, but you probably had it coming."
Probably.
So,
was that when you're helping with the girls? When you're kind of the trainer for the girls, or was it the boys team?
Boys team then.
Gosh, I don't remember Rudy ever helping out.
Maybe it might have been Kronberger then, maybe too.
I don't know.
But
it wouldn't have been Kronberger because he was gone before Mr. Lloyd.
Yeah.
And I would have remembered that.
Well, I remember whoever it was, but I remember I was helping with the girls, and I always had a lot of fun because we usually had some pretty good referees, and so I walk out in the introduction of referees that night and everything, and I can't remember who it was, but it was here. But I used this quite a few times. I had this false eyeball.
Okay.
And I'd walk out into the referee before the game was over, and I said, "You and I have a lot of common." He said, "What's that?" I reach in there and I'd pull that eyeball out. I said, "I keep my good eye in my pocket."
I'm surprised you didn't get a technical before the game started.
Well, you test and see what kind of sense of humor they had,
Yeah, just test the waters.
But I was coaching against, we were coaching, I think John, and I was helping John with the girls, and we were over.
John Meisner?
Yeah. We was over at Monument, and I always kept a bag with stuff to keep the girls from getting sick, or safety pins in case they break some of their equipment or something. And we had some stuff that Tara used to take to kind of help her stomach from getting upset. She'd get so nervous. Anyhow, we had all that stuff in there, and Band-Aids and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and you wrapped their feet. Stuff.
Yeah, tape, everything. But also for the coaches, most of the coaches like sugar a lot. So I had these black jelly beans in there for a simple reason that coaches sweat a lot. I think Skip Inskar was coaching along with
Skip coached the boys.
Yeah,
John
but he was helping.
The girls.
He was helping. Who was the I keep wanting to say Gaither, Ron Gaither.
Okay, from Monument.
He was coaching the girls. Well, before the game's over, I said, "Hey, you guys like jelly beans?" "Yeah, I got some licorice ones in here." I picked licorice on purpose because they're black, first of all, and they show up really good.
Oh, so and their hands get sweaty and all over.
Yeah, and then pretty soon they reach over and they scratch their nose or something, and pretty soon they got a black streak here, a black streak there. Yeah, so I look over.
Give them a handful of jelly beans. And
yeah. So they start itching and scratching. The first thing you know, their face looks like
like they've been mechanicking.
Yeah, they're putting on war paint or something. But anyhow, I used to have a lot of fun with that. But try to take the pressure off the team, when you put it on somebody else. Yeah. Well, what do you think?
That sounds good to me. We're pretty good reminiscing about the old sports stories.
Oh, yeah. We could probably got more. But
I'd like to get Mark and Dexter on here one of these days.
Oh,
my brothers.
Oh, man. I don't know if we can tell those stories or not.
Well, at least the sports stories.
Oh, yeah. We don't want to tell any of the other ones. But, yeah.
Those guys have real good reputations. We'd hate to tarnish them later in life.
Well, yeah, they've kind of cleaned up their act a little bit, so that works.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
all right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in, and that's the story of the 1960 baseball team for here in Mitchell,
and some a few inclusions.
Yep.
All right. May the good Lord take a liking to you.
Indeed.